Welcome to the Sharpe Show. Yes, it is a little bit later. It's like 8 p.m., 8:05 p.m. A little bit later, I know, here on the East Coast. And I'm here a little bit late, but still, I wanted to bring something to you that I hadn't brought in. I've been behind, is that's what I will say, on my big brains. I've been putting out those polls, and I wanted to make sure I was answering all the questions and dealing with the issues that you wanted me to deal with. So I was falling behind. It was supposed to be Big Brain Sunday every Sunday, and that was a great idea. But then I was out petitioning, and you've seen me talking about petitioning like there's no tomorrow. We are going crazy with our petitioning. So things have changed here and there. So I do apologize for that, but we are still here, rocking and rolling, trying to give you as much as I can, while also out there petitioning to the best of my ability. If you want to help me do that, you can. LarrySharpe.com/volunteer, or you can always do the 2-for-1, which you guys know what that is. If you don't, you're not paying attention. Click LarrySharpe.com, click the sign petition, print out the petition itself, sign it, have your friend sign the other one, print out two. You both witness it, mail it on in. That's 2 signatures right there. There are 30,000 libertarians across this state, 30,000 registered. If all of you do it, 60,000 signatures. I don't think you're all going to do it. But if you do, that will be amazing. So let's hope that all of you will do so. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. You could instead donate if you want to. That's fine. Donate works. LarrySharpe.com/donate. And of course, you can do something else. You might notice, Larry, that is a very cool shirt you are wearing. Well, why? Why, yes, it is. You could have one yourself if you want to. Head over to LarrySharpe.com/shop, and you can pick one up for yourself. You can also pick up a cool mug. This one, though, is the Sharpe Way mug. Nice Sharpe Way show, yes. But also, you can pick up this one if you want to do instead. Larry Sharpe for governor, even cooler. All the cool merch you want. But no matter what you do, please like, comment, and share. I bug you every time because it does matter. It's how we get past the algorithms. That's how we grow. So please do that. So I wanted to cover a couple of issues if I could. The first one that I wanted to cover, we did a poll talking about how do we prevent subway shootings. And we had the option of a subway TSA, gun control, or conceal carry. And conceal carry won without even, I should know my audience. But yes, conceal carry won, not even close, devastated all the rest. But I do want to cover quickly the other two, and we brought them up because subway TSA is kind of what Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, is thinking about now. And you might laugh and go, Larry, you stupid New York City people, you and your stuff. What do I care? If New York City subway creates a TSA, if it does, it's coming to your near city. Whatever city you're near or in, it's coming. You can guarantee, I will bet you any amount of money you want. TSA is still from 9/11, we still have TSA. It was useless after 9/11, and it's useless now. It's totally useless. It just makes things worse. To be forward, the TSA commits more crimes than it prevents. I'm not joking. I'm not making that up. That's literally, you can research it. They commit more felonies against us than crimes they stop. So they literally hurt us. They're not neutral. They are actively harmful. So that we pay them lots of money. We waste tons of time so they can harm us. That is what the current TSA is. And New York City is looking at, metal detectors in the subways. Wow, is that dumb? Cops on every train. Wow, is that dumb? We're actually considering that. Terrible idea. We're considering it. But the other thing we're doing now is gun control. And here's how we're dealing with it. We're fixing ghost guns because of all the problems in the subways with the homeless people and the people who are like shooting up people. All of them have been using ghost guns. No. So actually, none of them have used ghost guns. Not one. Donut. They've used hammers, knives, human feces, shoving people, so their arms, and guns that have been purchased legally and smuggled into New York or bought illegally on the black market. None of them are ghost guns. So we're going to do ghost guns. Yes, as bad as that is, that's what we're thinking about. We're not thinking about concealed carry at all. At all. Now, the problem with concealed carry, and there are problems with it, and it's not because I don't believe in it. Of course I do. You know that. Please don't try to go, Larry hates guns or whatever. That's insanely stupid. Of course it's not true. The problem is the cultural issues in New York City. It isn't the logical issues. This is an emotional issue. And I'll give you a story I will often tell. I was in Oklahoma years ago raising money for someone in Oklahoma, and I was in someone's house. It was a home spot. People get together and they talk, and we raised money for a candidate. I was helping to raise money for a candidate in Oklahoma, of course, libertarian candidate. And someone took a picture. And for those of you who don't know, you can imagine at least, Oklahoma's gun laws are far more, I'll use the right word, liberal, if that makes any sense. Some of you I know just got triggered by me saying that, but they are far more liberal, meaning that it's much easier and natural and normal. And the culture in Oklahoma is also more natural and more normal for people to carry. That's not in New York City, it's kind of a crazy thing in New York City, unless you're a cop. Oklahoma, whatevs. So there were many people who were carrying. I'm sure some were concealed. I couldn't see all of them. So I'm sure some were concealed, some weren't. So someone took a picture and you could see some people who had firearms. And I come back and, there's pictures on the internet, or I have pictures on my phone. And someone says, "Oh my God, is that a gun?" One of my friends here. I'm like, "Yeah." "Oh my God, it's like more than one gun." "Yeah." "Weren't you afraid?" "Why? I'm in the safest place I could possibly be, surrounded by friends of mine, and they're all armed. Oh my God. If someone wants to come in and hurt me or steal something, they're going to have a bad night. They're really going to wish they came to a different house, right? I'm in the safest place I could be, surrounded by friends who are all armed. I might as well be a baby in my crib with my mama. There's literally no place safer than that. And people here were like, "Oh my God, weren't you scared?" Yeah, I thought the guns might jump out of their holsters and shoot people randomly, I guess. But I tell you that story so that when you see me give some people pushback to going right to concealed carry or right to constitutional carry, whatever you might want in New York State, I tell you that because there is going to be cultural, emotional pushback that we have to deal with. So when I talk about the Second Amendment, particularly in the cities, upstate New York, rural areas, not as bad. Some of the cities are Rochester, still very anti-gun. But generally speaking, rural areas, upstate, it's just not, you can have the conversation very easily. In the city, New York City, tough to have the conversation. So I often bring it up in this type of environment, meaning violence in the streets or in the subways or in the bad neighborhoods. I talk about a firearm being an equalizer, right? And if you look at gang violence, and this is a serious thing for those of you who've been part of the gang violence or the black market, what happens when you see 2 or 3 guys who you think might be thugs, might be gang members? You think they might be gangbangers. You're like, are they or not? Do you mess with them? You think to yourself, this is a true thing. Okay, are they with a crew? Whose crew are they with? If I'm unsure of the repercussions of my actions, do I mess with those guys? Because those guys might be part of this crew. I mess with them, I'm getting repercussions. You know what? Let me just walk on. Or the reverse, it's gang violence. Let me go take those guys out, right? Depending upon where I am, what's happening in my world. But I take into account before I make the attack or the assault what those repercussions might be. That's a real thing. That happens. If you ever hear or see it, very often people will announce who they are or what crew they're with openly. When you say something, you bump into them and they go, "You know who I'm with? I'm with so-and-so. You know what I do? You know what I rep?" But they will announce it. Now, do you believe them or not? You believe them? You might go, "You know what? Good. I'm going to take you out now because you're my enemy." Or, "You know what? I don't want repercussions. I'm going to walk away." Now, why would I say that? Because the people who are doing bad things are either gangbanger thugs or people who have some kind of illness or problem. One of those two. In both cases, they think. How do I know that? Look at gang violence. Those who've been involved, and then look at all the time you find people have mental illness or addiction problems. And when they're attacking people, they're never attacking people who are physically large. They're always attacking people who are physically small. Why is there so much attacks on Asian communities in New York State? Because in New York State, they believe that an older, elderly woman is an easy target. They believe there'll be no repercussions. So they can shove her, hit her, do whatever they want. That's what they often do. It's usually a woman with children. A woman with children will do whatever you say to protect her children. Doesn't matter what it is. She will take everything. I will not fight back. Don't hurt my kids. Take everything. They know that. That's why they do it. But imagine if we actually had concealed carry in New York City. Imagine if that happened. They're going, "Larry, you want to arm all the old people?" No. You want to arm everybody? No. I want to allow those who want to arm themselves to do so. If that's 1% or 99%, I'm not concerned about that, but there might be. And just let one day, one time, one elderly gentleman who's getting accosted by two thugs draw down and put a bullet in one of them. The other one runs away because he wasn't expecting it, so he runs off. One guy gets shot, the other one runs off. That happens one time. Now the thugs start thinking, is that guy, is he packing? I don't know. Maybe I don't want to beat up the old man anymore. Maybe I don't want to try to attack that old lady because she might put a bullet in me. And you might go, Larry, that sounds crazy. No, that's how it happens. How do I know that? Because the big guys aren't being attacked here. That's why. It's not happening. Unless it's gang-on-gang violence, right? But the exception of gang-on-gang violence, the average person walking around the street, don't worry about it. It doesn't happen because they're worried. There might be repercussions. That's the goal. This is why a concealed carry will actually work. Again, you don't have to arm everybody. Not required. In fact, in theory, no one could be armed, in theory, as long as the guys didn't know if somebody was armed or not. But Lara, if you do that, there'll be shootouts in the streets. Great. Can you please show me in any city or any area where they have made the gun laws looser or more liberal? I'm going to keep using that word to trigger you guys. More liberal, if they do that, where those shootouts have occurred. I will give you the answer. Nowhere. Nowhere. Doesn't happen. So I get the fear. It does feel bad. Oh my God, if I loosen the gun laws, we'll be shooting people in the streets. I understand the fear because you don't know it. It feels weird. If you make it legal, people will go do it. We're not making it legal to shoot people. That would still be illegal, right? Just because you could have a firearm doesn't mean, well, now I can just randomly shoot people. That's not how that works. How do we know that? Look at the states with more liberal, I'm going to keep saying it, more liberal gun laws, right? So that I don't see people getting shot every day in the streets there. In fact, if you look at the data, straight data, and this is not biased, legal gun owners, people who legally own firearms, statistically, are less likely to commit crimes than people who are not legal gun owners. Just data, and that's across all America. So by default, if you had more legal gun owners, you would have less criminals. That's just math, not even Common Core math. So am I saying that you should arm everybody? No, I'm not. And there are many reasons why there's violence in the subways. Many reasons. It isn't just that. And some of you got mad at me over my carrying caboose idea. And I'll explain it in a second. But there are many things to do. But of the three I gave you, the only one that had any real value was concealed carry. And sadly, that's the one that's least likely to happen in New York City. That's how my city is. This is why I'm fighting. This is why I'm running. Because of the three I gave you, the one that's most likely to actually have some actual results and make things better is the least likely to happen. Instead, we get more gun control, a subway TSA, and people still scared of guns. When I'm not trying to arm the world, I'm trying to allow the world to arm itself if it wants to. That's it. If you want to go, if you're afraid of guns or don't want a gun, or if a gun in your house is going to be dangerous because of who you have in your house, don't do it. It's a right, not a requirement. You do you. You're worried? Don't do it. No one's going to be mad at you. Just don't stop others. So that could actually work. I want to make sure that was clear. There are many reasons. I'm going to go down the carrying caboose idea. People have been mad at me about this idea. I'm not sure why people are mad at it. The carrying caboose idea, it's the way to stop some of the violence and deal with some of the addiction and homeless problems in the subway system. There are, again, many aspects. I gave you just one. Another idea is what I call the carrying caboose idea. This is an idea where every other train, the last car every other train is basically a car designated for people who are in trouble, either addiction or homeless. I'm sorry, addiction or mental illness. I apologize. Addiction and mental illness. Not all homeless people fall into that category. Some are working poor, some are veterans. It's all different. But of the homeless population, there's a chunk that either have addiction problems or have mental illness problems. And many of them, they go to the MTA. It's where they go. They go into buses. They go into subways. They're there already. And in fact, if you've been here and you all of a sudden see a bunch of cars and one car that's empty for no reason, you know why it's empty. There is someone who is homeless, who is smelling terrible. I'm not trying to be mean. That's just a fact. They smell so bad that you can't go into the car without retching. And this is a real thing. Like if you go in the car, you start wanting to throw up. So the car is empty because no one can take the smell. And sometimes there'll be 2 or 3 people there that the entire car is so bad, you just can't go into the car. This is not an exaggeration. This is a real thing. So what I'm saying is the last car is designated for people like that. See, first people immediately go, well, so now we're paying for this? Stop. I'm a libertarian. Shut up. You know I'm not saying that. It is a sponsored car. It is a sponsored car by 1 or 2 types of people. One, healthcare organizations, big pharma maybe, something like that, or companies that are trying to rehab their image. So, for example, they got sued by a lawsuit. They have to pay something back. This could be part of their payment. So then, of course, they sponsor it. In that car is security, not a cop. Because in this specific case, many homeless people are scared of cops. So it's not a cop. It's some kind of form of private security paid for by those people. However, a cop can move that people as they come in to the back of the cars, to that area. Because right now there's a couple options. They physically grab and put them in jail, option 1. Number 2, they leave them there to harass others, to literally push them in front of other cars, hit them with hammers, smash them with feces. That stuff really happens. To do all of those things, or you leave them there. And now we have a worse problem in the subway. People don't want to go on a subway. So you find a place for them. You have security there and social workers who want to help. And there are literally thousands of them in the city who would love to help and then get paid for. They can get paid by the sponsor to assist. You get some Wi-Fi in there, which we should have had forever in a train station. And now people in trouble can go there. Are they going to get sleep? Maybe get washed up? You can have a changing station there if you want to. Whatever's going to work. Whatever social workers and those companies believe is going to help the people in there, they can go there. Done. Now, another response is, well, Larry, that's what shelters are for. They're not going to shelters because the city runs the shelters, and the cities can't run a damn thing good. The city runs everything poorly. So it runs shelters poorly also. This isn't run by the city. That's the point. It's run by a private company that has to rehab its image. So it has to have some kind of success story. That's why you make the carrying caboose idea. That's the carrying caboose idea. Not paying any extra dollars. The people are there anyway. Service them where they are. Get them some help. Maybe allow them to change their clothes so they don't smell so bad. You could put portable showers there, even something like that. All that stuff could be done. All possible. All possible if you allow people to do it. That can be done. That is my carrying caboose idea. And that's the concept we want to work on to make things better in the New York City subways. I have one more thing I want to bring up, but I will cover a bunch of your comments now if I could. And I know some of you are going to be upset about my carrying caboose idea. Some of you don't like it for some reason. Please show me another idea. I'm happy if I'm wrong, but I will cover one more. Let me grab a couple comments if I could. So, all righty. Let's see here. Joe says, what polls? I put them on the Twitter and Facebook is where I put them. Yes. Twitter and Facebook. And Joe says petitions first. Yes, you are correct. Yes, we must prioritize, Joe. Petitions first. Yes, but also polls. But petitions first. Yes, absolutely. So, all right, if I can do this here. Brandon says, love you, Larry. Thank you. I appreciate that, my friend. Andrew says, my idiot councilman in the city of Oneonta wants the city to house Ukrainian refugees. Oh. I'm not necessarily against housing Ukrainian refugees, but why your city and who's paying for it? I mean, if you have some people who have Ukrainian background, maybe, or care for Ukrainians specifically, and they want to keep them in their own homes and sponsor them, well, it's not going to end. But my worry is, I think you know what's going to happen. They're going to take all the city. It's going to become a city problem, right? It's not going to become an individual family problem, right? And my point being with this, let's say, for example, you listening or watching, you have Ukrainian family in Ukraine. You're Ukrainian and you want to sponsor your family. I don't have a problem with creating a fast track for people who are in Ukraine to be sponsored by a family here. The family takes responsibility. The family wants to sponsor them. You could fast track something like that. That's not necessarily a bad plan, but that's not what ever happens. What happens is they just come and the city has to support them. So that's the problem, right? If it wasn't that, I'm open to the other idea conceptually. That'd be a good plan, obviously. But if you individually, because you care about Ukraine or have family or friends there, you want to sponsor people, the world's not going to end. We could fast track something. It's not a bad idea. So he continues, the city council already has a problem with housing veterans and the homeless as it is. Yeah, but see, that's not good enough virtue signaling, Andrew. The virtue signal is I got to put my Ukrainian flag and I got to bring refugees in. See, I said the right things. There we go. That's how that works. Yes. So Joe says that's a Sharpe shirt. It is. It is 100%. And don't forget, you can get one yourself if you want to. LarrySharpe.com/shop. Absolutely. Or you can also petition too, by the way. LarrySharpe.com. Click that sign a petition and you can start petitioning on your own right now, like today, if you wanted to. You could do that 100%. So thank you for that. All right. That's very funny. Joe says ban subways. Well, I guess you know what? If you ban the subway, there would probably be less violence in the subway. That probably would happen, but maybe not. And you might go, what? Yeah. If you ban the subway, Joe, then the people who legally would normally go on a subway would stop going. But that would still be a place for the homeless to go when it's cold outside or when it's raining. So homeless and mentally ill people, they aren't always the same. Often they are, but they aren't always the same, would go there anyway. So when they'd go there, there'd be no cops, no people. There might be still violence, if not more violence. Who knows? Black market might open up down there. So, prohibition always works. Yes, always works. Absolutely. So Christine says, hi, Larry, listening from the Ozarks. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yes, I love that. All righty. Let's see if I can do this here. Abella says, John Thurman. Oh, John Thurman. Okay, so I'm talking to someone else, not me. There we go. Sorry. There we go. All right. Let's see if I can keep going down here. A couple more. Joel says, TSA is a huge waste. They fail testing a huge amount of time. Yes, they are ineffective. They don't solve crimes, and they actually perpetrate crimes on us. Yes, 100%. Jennifer says, but Larry, don't they keep us safe? What about this? Yes. I'm going to tell you why I am so against things like red flag laws, so against the TSA, because you know what has never stopped a terrorist attack? Security. You know what has stopped terrorist attacks? A vigilant population. Constantly. I don't mean the ones that the FBI makes up, because the FBI makes up shit. We know that, right? Not the stuff like real people trying to do bad things. Not FBI entrapping people, which is the norm, right? Most of these attacks are FBI entrapping people. I don't care if someone says that. That's true. That's most of them is them making stuff up. But real people trying to hurt people, that's a vigilant population. In New York, we have the saying in New York City. New York City, we say, if you see something, say something. It's everywhere. It is everywhere. We see it on like train stations. We see it in bus stops, on buses. We see it all over the place. And New Yorkers do it. If we see something out of the ordinary, we call up. Hey, why is that guy there? Why is that box there? Why is that? We do it all the time. And that actually has stopped. We've actually stopped people doing bad things by people saying something. That actually works. Well, that's what red flag laws are for. We don't have red flag laws for that in New York City, and somehow it still works. But once you create red flag laws, you know what happens? Then it becomes the requirement of everyone to do so, and then people start using the law to punish others. That's what actually happens. Oh, Jennifer, you, stole my parking spot. Think you're a terrorist. I'm calling you up because red flag laws. I'm not making that up. That's also true. That kind of stuff happens constantly. So no red flag laws. Just vigilant population, people who locally care about their area, and guess what? Stuff doesn't happen. And by the way, that actually worked even for 9/11. Some of you may not know this, but the pilots of 9/11, they had to learn how to fly. They didn't know how to fly. They came from Saudi Arabia. They didn't know how to fly. So they went to, it's a true story. They went to, pilots and started learning how to fly. And they didn't want to learn how to land. Not making this up. They did not want to learn how to land. And so the pilots are like, the teachers are like, this is weird. So they call the FBI and they're like, hey, this is weird. These 3 dudes from Saudi Arabia, they come here, they want to know how to fly, but they don't care about landing. Like, they don't care. It's super weird. FBI was like, whatevs. 9/11. This is real. So the law enforcement screwed that up. The individual people saw something weird. Why you learn how to fly? You don't care about landing? That's kind of important part of flying. So they thought something was wrong. They called the FBI. FBI goes, whatever. Click. 9/11. That's real. So they don't keep us safe. We keep us safe, which goes on with the concealed carry piece. They're connected. Absolutely. So Sarah says, homeless on the subways has been one of my favorite ideas. I've shared it with many others. Thank you for it. Oh, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. I'm just, it isn't perfect. Don't get me wrong. There are flaws with it, but it's way better than what we have now, right? It's better than what we have now. And I want to make things better. That's the issue. I want to make things better. So Michael says, can you fix New York bit license laws? It's hurting crypto in the rest of the U.S. 100% yes. And I mean, we will immediately end the bit license. The bit license should not exist. It is a stupid idea. For those of you who don't know, a guy named Lawsky made that's his name. Lawsky ran our financial department here in New York State. And brilliant. He did stuff that's brilliant. Totally legal and totally unethical. What Lawsky did is he said, you know what? We have to figure out how to deal with this Bitcoin thing. I'll make a very complex, convoluted bit licensing process that no one will actually get. And he created this maze. Then he said, oh, by the way, Cuomo, I quit. I'm going to become a consultant. He's like, consultant what? Oh, how to get through the bit license. I'm not joking. So now if you want a bit license in New York, you got to pay Lawsky a consulting fee so he can walk you through it. Brilliant. Totally legal and brilliant and totally unethical. And that's what he did because New York State is good that way. When it comes to corruption, I mean, you're going to have to fight to beat New York when it comes to grifting like that. We're really good at that. We're really good at that. That's all I'm saying. So, yes, I will absolutely end that. You are absolutely correct. 100%. Yes. So, Eric says all the cities, no problems in the country. It is, Eric, but the problem is those problems will come out to you eventually. And the people in the city, they outvote you because there's so many of them, right? There's so many people in the cities. So, Eric, I get what you're saying. I hear it all the time, but we got to keep going. We got to keep going. We got to make some changes. Yes, absolutely. So, all right. Let's see here. Joe says, safest I feel is when I'm at a gun show. Yeah, no doubt. Who's going to come? If you're going to come rob a gun show, wow. You're bringing an army, I guess. I guess. Yes. Desiree says, I used to live in Oklahoma and it was open carry. Yes, their laws are way different than New York State. Way different. Chuck says, do you carry? Of course not. I hope you're not talking to me. I live in New York City. If I carry in New York City, I'm going to jail. I'm going to Rikers Island. I'm going to the most violent violent jail in the entire country. I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to pass on that. Yes. So, all right. Let's see here. Dan says hold on. Let's see if I can grab this here. Oh, yeah, the whole thing. I'm sorry. As irritating as we TSA guys are, I'm sure one day they'll reprivatize, but you'll miss us when we're gone when you see what it takes our place. I'm sure the higher ups are looking at the components of the Chinese social credit system like what they see. I don't know. This is my problem, Dan. Do I think we should have security? Of course. Of course. Do I think we should have government-run TSA? No. You are correct. Why don't they just hire you guys as private security for either the airport or depending on how they want to do it, the individual airlines? Then you'd get privatized training and privatized results, and you'd have to worry about what your customer wants. Yes, absolutely, 100%. So let's see here. Karen says the gun violence statistics between Chicago and Houston really show this fact beautifully. Absolutely. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yes. Let's see if I can keep going. Yeah, carrying Caboose. That's it. Love that. Yes. I thought carrying Caboose was nice. I like the idea. Absolutely. I did like the carrying Caboose. Brandon says, are you on the Forward Party ticket? The Forward Party has absolutely endorsed me. I'll be doing some events with Andrew Yang in the summer. So yes, but they will not be grabbing a line. It is too hard to get a line here in New York, meaning to get party status in New York if you're not Democrat or Republican, virtually impossible. Almost impossible. I'm doing it now, and I have to do it because I've ran before. I got hundreds of volunteers. I got you guys petitioning for me. I've raised a bunch of money. I can do it. Nobody else can. It's basically impossible. So yeah. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. So what I want to do, hold on. Let me see. So Jay says, so why do homeless people stay in New York City? I've never been there. I'm just trying to understand this. Generally speaking, many of them are here because it's what they know. It's their home. So they know New York City. But also, New York City has a lot of resources for people who are homeless. It does. A lot of people give to them on the streets. If you're an addict, then there's a lot of drugs here for you. If you're an addict, to keep you okay. There are facilities where you can stay if you want to. A subway system will keep you warm. There are places to stay. It's why they stay in places like San Francisco. Homeless people stay where they can survive and be as comfortable as possible. I think that's the issue, right? Number one issue. Absolutely. So, yes. All right, let me see if I can grab the other thing that you guys mentioned. I want to cover both of these. We also talked about what is the biggest threat. No, that's the wrong one. Okay. What is the biggest issue for historically disadvantaged communities? And what one was affordable housing, over policing and systemic racism. And the issue I thought with that one is they were kind of, they're kind of similar, meaning that a lot of the systemic issues are from over policing and reversed, and affordable housing the same way. So a lot of that is systemic. I think that's true, right? A lot of that is overlaps. But I'll cover the affordable housing piece more than anything else. If you want to have more affordable housing, there are several things you have to do. The first one is you want to change the mindset away from renting to owning. And that is very hard to do, particularly for the youth. Many of the youth can't even imagine owning a home anymore because it's been so out of their reach. They only know how to pay rent. They think about a monthly fee for everything, for their Netflix or for their, Hulu or whatever the case may be. They think about, monthly fees for everything. It is difficult, right, to get the youth to start thinking that way. But that's the first step, thinking about an ownership mindset. That is not the only thing, of course not, but it's the concept of thinking that way. And then when you're trying to make affordable housing, how do you make that the same way? How do you make that with an ownership mindset? We don't. We make the idea of affordable housing as cheap renting, right? That's what almost everyone thinks. Cheap renting. That's it, right? We got to find cheap places for people to rent. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not against cheap places to rent. I'm not at all. But what I want you to consider is, can we make it easier for people to buy? I'm going to give you several ideas for this. One of the simplest ones is turn public housing into rent to own. Very simply, public housing into rent to own. If you're in public housing, whatever public housing there is, you should have the opportunity, if you want to turn your rent into ownership. Now, some of the people who are renting in public housing, they're on public assistance. So that means that now, in theory, we're paying them to own a house, and people get mad. They go, how would I get, why would I want to pay this person to own the apartment? Because you have two choices. Choice one, pay their rent forever, option one, or pay their rent, give them an ownership mindset, make them responsible, and see how many of them will change their life around because now they have some ownership in this. Now, you might go, but Larry, a bunch of people might just destroy the place. They might. That's possible. But here's what I know, what I'm sure the data shows. A chunk of people, once it is theirs, will change their mindset. And they will go, you know what? This is my apartment. I'm not renting. I'm paying a mortgage. This is my apartment. I will think differently about it. I will care more about my community. I will care more about my housing project. I will care more about my building. I will care more about that because now that's my pocket. Now I care about where the property value goes up. Now gentrification, not necessarily a bad thing because I'm now an owner. So if the property value goes up, I now have that. I can now borrow against my equity. I begin to think that way. This is a longer term solution, but it's a big chunk. Getting that to happen and to move all of a sudden into rent to own. That style is going to help over the long run. In fact, that should help within the first couple of years. Some people it won't, as always, but some people it will. And as they begin to do that, others will watch and go, Jenny owns that home. Maybe I should apply this rent to own thing. Maybe I should own my home too. Maybe we should all own this thing. That will begin to happen. And that's what I want. You will care a whole lot more. You'll vote. You'll care about how you're policed. You'll care about all types of things. How do you know that? Look at neighborhoods where everyone owns versus look at neighborhoods where everyone rents. Just look at the data. Again, it's there. More people to own, the better. But that's not enough. That's one piece. All of these projects have multiple pieces, right? That's one piece. Second piece, encourage developers to do the same. So encourage developers. How do you encourage developers? Most people in today's world who are developing, some of you may know this, some of you don't, is permanent capital, right? Private capital. They want in, they want out. Good. Give them a benefit if they do rent to own. What's the benefit? When they sell the property, no capital gains tax. It's not taxable. If you make it rent to own, if you make it affordable so that people can buy it from you, you get your money up front, and the money you start getting from those people who are renting, and when you sell it, the same thing, you get the money tax-free. You split a tax haven. All permanent capital wants is tax havens. That's why they're doing it, to get tax havens. Good. You make a ballad and they're avoiding taxes. They're giving people homes and they're dealing with the affordable. You want the wealthy. If you're on the left, you want the wealthy to pay for affordable housing. That's all you ever talk about. You want the wealthy to help the people who are working, poor, middle class. I'm giving you a way they'll do it without you having to fight them. It's what they want. Give it to them. And again, it changes the mindset. Then allow for the tiny house. What does that mean? Allow for the tiny house in every single city. That the tiny house is the idea that will help also homeless, working poor, and the youth. But Larry, we don't want tiny houses. It's not good. Have you seen what they're doing now in the cities? There are 4 or 5 or 6 people in one apartment. They're literally splitting up a living room to make that 2 bedrooms. I'm not joking. That's happening right now. But you don't like tiny houses? What's wrong with you? Understand what's happening right now in the cities. So change that. Allow for tiny houses and tiny apartments. A series of tiny apartments. Why? Do that with rent to own. You do that, you're now rotating people through an ownership mindset. But Larry, people don't like all these apartment buildings. Why? Because they're all renters. It's renting mentality. It destroys the property value of the area. But what if you're not doing that? What if you're bringing in a bunch of owners who you know are going to want to sell and resell, which will raise the property value? Oh my God, NIMBYism begins to go away. You want this to happen, you can make it happen. You can make the wealthy pay more. You can get people who want the stuff who want these in their neighborhoods because they'll start raising the property value, and they can be diverse and tell their friends how cool they are. So that will still work on top of it and change the mindset of many of our working poor middle class in this country. I want the working poor to have not a renter's mentality, and many of them do. I want them to have an ownership mentality. So give it to them. We can do this. So you can deal with affordable housing. You can do it that way. The more you do it, the better. So I know I went a bit long on that one, but I hope that makes sense. I'm always telling you of actual ideas to fix things, not just, we got to give them housing. We've been giving them housing for decades. It hasn't worked. We need more affordable housing. We've been increasing affordable housing for decades. It doesn't work. The ideas I just gave you will work. How do you know that work? They actually did it already in London, and it works. They do it in Singapore. Well, Singapore, they force it, so it's not as cool. They do it in Singapore, but it's forced. They did it in London, not forced. It works both ways. I'm going to go with the not forced way. But in both cases, it actually works. You wind up getting a more diverse neighborhood without quotas, without fighting. Because what happens is it goes just basically on socioeconomic. So race becomes mixed because there's poor white people and poor black people and poor Hispanic people and poor Asian people. There's poor people all over the place. Doesn't matter what your race is. So those people want to start to move up in the world. And for most people in America, Real estate is the best way, easiest way for you to gain actual wealth, right? Not just be rich, but gain wealth, gain equity, and change your mindset. So give it to them. This can work. Hope that was helpful for the people who were asking. That's how you could handle it with the affordable housing piece. It can be done. It should be done. So yes. All right. Let me see if I can go down here again. If I could grab a couple more of these questions. I appreciate this. Karen says lots of communities still reeling from redlining. 100%. Yes. Redlining was terrible. And this is what so many people think, redlining was done years ago. It was. That's an accurate statement. Redlining officially stopped, I think, officially in the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And then, but the bankers actually stopped dealing with it around the 80s. You might go, well, Larry, it's 40 years ago. Yeah, but 30 years is a mortgage. So people who were getting their homes in the 40s and 50s and 60s, they already had the homes, and they already had credit, and they already had wealth. Meanwhile, these neighborhoods have been renters and broken for 40 years. You got to rebuild for that. And that's what you're talking about. You're totally correct, right? And also just mentally. Black neighborhood versus white neighborhood. That too. So yes, absolutely. So, all right. Let's see here. Sarah says, "Oh, I like that idea. When I had rental assistance, an opportunity to improve my situation, credit score, etc., would have been huge." Yes, absolutely, 100%. Yes, 100%. Karen says they get a bigger apartment every kid they have. Why work? Well, in this case, that wouldn't be what we would do, Karen. Right? You would have to sell your older home and buy a new one, right? But again, you'd be thinking that way, right? You would be thinking to do that. And again, to be forward, most people don't think that way, and most wouldn't. Most people wouldn't. But eventually, over time, as they watch the people around them, and they go, "Man, these guys are doing it. Maybe I should too. Okay, let me do it also." So yes. So, Karen says, "How is that possible? Landlords rent to make money." Some landlords do. Many don't, right? Many are doing it as investments. So, Karen, this would not be everywhere. Some people, this is why, again, it's not forced. They forced it in Singapore. I don't want to force it. It should be voluntary. Maybe you buying, a house and having 3 apartments in it, you might not care. No worries. You don't have to. But there's a lot of permanent capital and private capital. They're doing it just so they can turn it. That's their goal. They're not renting it to make money. The rent isn't that important. In fact, most of them are borrowing. This is a true story. They buy the property, and the rents themselves they use as collateral for other loans to buy other things. So now I'm just saying, do a different way. Take it as the money comes in. That's a repayment for you. That's how you get you paid the money. You get the money back from what you did plus interest, obviously. And then when you sell it, all the money you get from either the rent money or from selling it, no tax. It's not taxable. So that now becomes a tax haven for these guys. And again, if you're dropping $100,000 on a small building with 3 apartments in it, obviously not New York City. It's actually that's $2 million at least. But someplace else, you may not care about that tax issue. It may not be an issue for you. But if you're permanent capital and you're literally dropping $50 million, you care a lot about that tax burden, a lot, and you would think differently. So again, this is not the only issue. It's a good issue. It wouldn't affect everybody. And a general rule, the average everyday small time person is going to go about their business normally. This is to get, again, you guys know my policies. I want the wealthy to pay. I do. I want the big corporations to pay. I just don't want to make it tax, and I don't want to force them. I want them to want to do it. I want to create an environment to where they're happy to do it, because then they'll do it, and they won't fight me, and they won't sue, and they won't rewrite the laws and rewrite all the regulations that we keep seeing happening every single time. So I hope that was clearer, Karen. It wasn't about, that's why it wasn't force, because sometimes people wouldn't want to do it, and maybe you might not. In your case, you might not. So yes. All right. Jennifer says, "But Larry, with the amount of money we pay in taxes, shouldn't we already have free housing, free healthcare, free college, no homelessness?" Yes. With the amount of money we're paying, yes. You're right. We should. Absolutely. It's almost like government isn't motivated to solve problems, but has some strange incentive to create them. What? Jennifer. No. Yes, no. So, all right. Karen says, where I live, a 4-bedroom house rents for 3 to 4K. That's amazing. Average mortgage payment is 2K. At least ownership accumulates equity. Yes, and that's my point, right? It's not a perfect plan, but it gets the mindset thinking, right? And so what also happens is I take some of this from my own thought process in when we were kids, right? When I was a kid. I grew up in the South Bronx, and we rented. We actually lived on Walton Avenue by Yankee Stadium, and we rented in an apartment complex, 6 stories high and 2 sides of a large building. That's where I grew up as a kid, and we didn't have a ownership mindset. We had a renter's mindset. But then my father, who was a DJ, wanted to build something in the apartment, and he actually wanted to build. This is back in the 70s, so he actually wanted to build like a place we have a reel to reel, and he was DJ and turntables and all that stuff. And he started to put this together in a house, and he started building it with wood. And then he realized this isn't mine. Like, they could throw us out at the end of the year or whatever, and things change. Huh. You know what? We should own some. And my mom was all about ownership, all about it. And eventually we worked hard so that we could own something. My dad had a part-time job as a DJ. My mom and I used to clean offices and clean houses. So my point is, when the mindset changes, and I saw the mindset in my own family. I saw it when I lived in what now they call the hood. When I was a kid, they called it the ghetto, right? But I saw the change in mindset. And the people had ownership mindset. Many of them were immigrants. There's a joke, and I actually did this when I was at Freedom Fest last year. I was with John McWhorter, and we were talking about the idea of the Jamaican family immigrant versus the black family in Brooklyn, how they tease each other, right? How the Jamaican family's like, you gotta have 3 jobs, and it's a stereotype. Obviously, people are people, but the stereotype is the Jamaican immigrant wants you to have 4 jobs and 3 jobs and work hard to buy something, own something. But the concept is a real concept. So I do think we have to start moving people towards an ownership mentality. I think over time it really will help. So yes, I hope that was helpful at least. So, all righty, see if I can go here now. Karen says, you're giving these people way too much credit for logical thinking. My thought process here, Karen, is I think most people will not change a thing initially. I think you're right. Most won't, but some will. And as more do, people will change. There's always early adopters. This is why so many people want to force things. To your point, Karen, they want to force things because if you force it, people change quickly because you force them. But if you force them, do they really want to change? And is the change long-lasting? I want long-lasting change. So I'd rather go slowly, get people to change their mindset, and over time, they'll do it. Generally speaking, if you change the environment, you get better players, you get better results. So that's what I want to do. I hope that at least makes sense. Even if some of you guys disagree, I get it, but I hope that at least makes sense. Karen, I used to like you until you said I hate the Yankees. You were my best friend. No more. Now, I'm totally messing with you. But yes, I'm a Yankee fan. Totally a Yankee fan. Sorry, I'm a Yankee fan. It's true. So guys, do me a small favor if you would, though. As I said earlier, please head over to libertarianism.com. Check them out. Click that link. Share that link out. Let people go. If people are saying these libertarians are nuts, go to libertarianism.com. Go to libertarianism.com. Click that link right there. Go there. Check it out. See what they're doing. And they've got some cool merch. Not as cool as my merch, obviously, but they have cool merch. You can go. You can buy it if you want to, or take the quizzes and you get points, and you can take and you get the merch for free with the points. So either way it works. Lots of videos, lots of quizzes and tests about what libertarianism really is about. Please, they are my sponsor for this show. Please help them out. Share it. Take it. It is a lot of fun. It's very interesting. Please go ahead and do so. And of course, if you want to help me out, you can get my merch if you want to, LarrySharpe.com/shop. You can donate if you just want to give some money. I'm happy to take some money. I need it for petitioning. So LarrySharpe.com/donate, or you can volunteer to petition if you want to, LarrySharpe.com/volunteer. But I don't just need petitioning. I also need people in policy. I need people in social media. This is an army of people I need to fight this battle. So help me out if you can. And if you just want to sign a petition, if you live in New York State and you're a registered voter, easy day. LarrySharpe.com/ and then click on the sign petition. Print out 2 petitions. You and a friend sign them. Then you and a friend swap and witness, because you cannot witness your own signature. Your friend witnesses one, you witness the other. Mail them in to me. I got 2 signatures. If 30,000 of you do that, I have 60,000 signatures. So do it. Get your friends. It does help tremendously. And always like and comment and share. It does matter tremendously, 100%. So let me see. Juan says, thank you again for trekking to Orange County. Oh, yes, I was at Orange Strong, yes, last night to address the locals last night. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on your honest responses to real problems. That's the issue, right? I know sometimes you guys don't. I should be very full with all of you who are listening. If you're listening and watching, there are going to be times that you disagree with me. It's how it works. The reason why often people don't with other candidates is because they don't actually say anything. They just do the left-right paradigm thing. They virtue signal from the left or from the right. You're in the same team. They don't talk about policies at all. So you always agree with them. Easy day. But when you're actually trying to solve problems, sometimes you're going to disagree with me. Sometimes I'm going to be wrong. Sometimes you're going to be wrong. Sometimes we're both going to be wrong. Sometimes we're both going to be right. That's how it works. But the one thing you'll know, for those of you who come see me at events or talk to me here, I have open, honest conversations all the time. We have conversations. I change my mind. I hope I'll change your mind, but I might not. You might change mine. It does happen. People have seen me do it right here. And I've actually changed policy issues also. So policy changes because you showed me something I didn't know, I didn't understand, and I'll change the policy all the time. It does matter, guys. This is important. I hope you see it. Let you guys all run. I hope it was an interesting big brain. We covered 2 specific policies and issues. Hope it was exciting. I will see you all. Oh, by the way, I will be out. 4 events going on this weekend. If you want to get petitions, 2 in New York City, 2 upstate. So check out my events page on Facebook and you will check them out. I hope to see you there. Have a good one, guys.